Welcome, everybody, to Youth Ministry and Mentorship 101. Today, I have with me Damion Bascombe, an area coordinator from the Greater New York Conference. I remember meeting him at the 2016 Atlantic Union Conference, Camporee, and he was in charge of the parade, and I was fairly impressed at his discipline and his love of drilling and marching. The one thing I'm going to tell you about this man is he has a quote that I will have till my dying day, because when I put in the casket, I'm going to have my Smokey the Bear hat. I know Damion, that you're going to be like that too. And he has this quote that goes, drilling and marching is a pill or a medication. You need to take it twice daily.
Let me fix that.
All right, fix it for me, brother. Fix it.
Drilling is a pill, and it should be taken twice a day.
Oh, beautiful! I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite quotes. So we're here today to talk about youth ministry, and from the viewpoint of an area coordinator, and I'm sure he does other things as well. That's what some people forget, that area coordinators also do a lot more other things. Sometimes we do a good job as area coordinators. They ask us to do other things. So I'm just going to ask Brother Damion, can you just give us like a little short bio about yourself and why you're in youth ministry and why you're in area coordinator and what other things do you do as well in youth ministry?
Okay, so brief. All right, so I became a Seventh-day Adventist in 2000. And it was in that year that I joined the Pathfinder Club in the church that was nearest to where I live, which was Mount Vernon. My sister and I were invited to be a part of that club by the adventure director who worked with my mother at a hospital in Westchester in New York. And so I was an Adventist at first when I joined the club. But as I was there and I learned more about the Bible, learned more about the history and the heritage of the Seventh-day Adventist church and movement, in about July of that year, my sister and I started to attend church regularly after we were invited by the club director and associate director. And it was in December of 2000 and I became baptized. That is the main reason why I came to youth ministries, because it was youth ministries, specifically Pathfinder, that brought me into the church. And so I have always been in love with the Pathfinder ministry from that day forward. Not too long after that, about a year after that, when I was a companion, I got my first taste of drilling and marching when we went to a Pathfinder day. And it was only about 3 of us who went, and they needed color guards to represent our church. I was drafted, and that was my first time being a color guard. Fell in love with it. And this is around the time when everybody was in the drum corps.
Yeah.
I was all about drilling and marching. So I was a color guard, then I was an assistant club drill instructor, became a club drill instructor. By the way, this was all in the Northeastern Conference, I should mention that. Club drill instructor, and then when my drill instructor became the area drilling and marching coordinator, she brought me on as her assistant. And then as the year went by, I wasn't a master guide yet, she stepped down. So then I was kind of elevated to the position of drilling and marching coordinator. Wow. And then I got into actually preaching ministry.
Wow.
And so I am a preacher as well. So I started preaching here, there, and everywhere. And I got very much involved in Greater New York Conference, especially. And then from there, I met Pastor Cortez when he was youth director at Greater New York. And that's Jose Cortez Jr., by the way.
Yep.
And then, so I joined Greater New York, working alongside with him, still not yet a master guy. I was working with the then drilling and marching coordinator because he saw my skills, because my drill team won first place for Greater New York. And we held that title for 7 years. Now, yes, we held that title for 7 years because we didn't have another competition for 7 years, but semantics.
That's right.
So we held that title for years. And so I started working with the drilling and marching coordinator at that time. Then she was replaced with someone else. I was working with him. I finished Master Guide. I was the head drilling and marching instructor in Greater New York for many years. Then I became an area coordinator. Then I became the drilling and marching coordinator while still working in my area.
Yep.
And now I've passed that baton, drilling and marching coordinator baton, on to my protege, Kenya Reyes. And I hope she sees this. What's up, Kenya? I'm giving you a shout out.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now I'm served as the lead coordinator for the Brooklyn area in Greater New York. That's my brief history in youth ministries.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear it. It sounds similar to mine in that you chose drilling and marching over drum corps, because that happened in my conference when I was coming up too. Everybody was talking about drum corps, and I was like, no, I'm doing my left faces and my right faces and about faces all day long, going hoo hoo hoo, so I could be loud, all those things. So thank you for that, brother. So what I want to ask you, what is the hardest part of being an area coordinator? What's the biggest challenge, I would say, being an area coordinator?
And I got to be careful now, because in case anybody at the conference hears this, but my biggest problem being an area coordinator is getting some of my fellow coordinators to understand that the young people today are not the same as they were when they were younger. And I'm pretty sure this is the plight of any younger coordinator. You know, I'm 31 now. When I became a coordinator, I was in my late 20s. And one of the few young coordinators within my conference. And now there's more young adult coordinators, but there's still a lot more senior. I'm being kind. Senior coordinators, but many of them are very distant from the current age group. And so a lot of times I see and I hear them say things that can be a bit demoralizing to a young person. And I think one of the things we have to keep in mind is that we have to remember, even for those of us who are older, even myself too, who's not that much older than these young people that I minister to, I've been where they've been in many situations. And sometimes as we get older, we forget that we've been where they've been. Now, the circumstances may be different. The situations surrounding may be different. And yes, the technology is different. But at some point, I've experienced something similar. And I think it's important for us to understand that if we're going to remain relatable, we have to be real. And I think some of us have forgotten that we need to be real. And it's something that I think is important as for anybody who's going to be working in youth ministries. You have to be real and you have to be relatable. A lot of people, because drilling and marching is my backbone, if you will. A lot of people think that sometimes be rough and tough and harsh. But I'm gonna be real. A lot of young people, even though they may say that I am, they appreciate it. And I'm not saying that out of nowhere. It's because it's come to me and they said it. There are many of them, especially for being in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is a very urbanized environment, and majority of Pathfinders in the United States of America, they're not coming from urbanized environments. And some of the leadership, especially the higher up you go, they're not coming from urbanized environments. So it's a very different way to deal with young people who are coming from an urban environment. Many of them single parent households too. It's very different than when you're dealing with someone who's suburban or rural. Very, very different. And I think sometimes in our curriculum and in certain things that come down from the division, especially, we forget that. And I think we need to remember that different strokes for different folks. There are certain things that work well in an urban community that won't work well in a suburban community. And the same thing for the other way around too. Certain things that work well in a suburban and rural community that won't work well in an urban community. I'll give you a quick example, because I know you have another question. Participation awards and certificates and trophies. Bro, if I were to do something like that in Brooklyn, they laugh me out of youth ministries. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. But in a place like Long Island, for example, in New York, it works. Because how they're raised very different. But in Brooklyn, no, those Pathfinders don't want that. Give me something I've earned.
Yes.
Give me something I've worked. Just one small example of something. I can actually give you two examples to your question. One is that you have to be real to the young people, and two is that you got to remember that not everything, you can't make youth ministries one thing across the board. You have to understand that different areas and different locations have different ways of ministering to the young people, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no one size fits all. You have to be understanding of what your environment is and who you're serving, what their background is. And I love that answer, brother, because I experienced the same thing in Southern New England Conference, and I'm starting to see the difference over here in Michigan in the fact that you have to understand, like, even in Southern New England Conference, there's certain churches that are different cultures. So whenever you get to PVE and then everybody gets third place who didn't reach the first place level, there are certain clubs you can see, they're just like, yay, we at least did it. But then there's the other clubs that, like, you know, they know when they bring it back to their church, they're going to say, the pastor, the elder is going to be like, third place, what happened to the first place? You know, and then they're gonna be like, I see, we needed to win, you know. So it's like we have to understand who we serve and stuff like that. And so that's beautiful. And also coming from another in Southern New England Conference, I was basically the youngest area coordinator there, and I'm actually older than you, brother. So it's it's something that is amazing. And I think that's what us young coordinators are there for. We're the ones to show the TLTs and the young adults that this is fun. It is a challenge, but it is fun. Like they when they see me in drilling and marching, and I saw it in YouTube, brother. When we're doing drilling and marching, we're having fun. We're having a blast. Even though we're at attention, we have that serious face, but they can tell that we love it. And then they start to say, "Okay, I can love it too." So
exactly,
so with that question of, I had it here because I know we were going to talk about it. Why do you love drill so much? But that was the first thing you started talking about, why you love drill. So I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to ask.
Wait, just before you do, I have to give you the story about that quote.
Okay.
That quote, drilling is a pill and drink it twice a day, because that's not original to me. I can't claim. I don't want to claim something. Just real quick. In 2004, that was the first time I went to Oshkosh.
Yeah.
And those times, they used to have the unions do devotionals. Mm-hmm. So the entire union came together, and Bill Wood that was when Bill Wood was NIT Union Youth Director. Yep. And he was there, he gave his devotional thought. And then after that, we were leaving. All the conferences were separated. Bermuda was there with a small group. There was a drill instructor from Bermuda, and they were marching back to their campsite.
Yes.
And said, drilling is a pill, and it should be taken twice a day. That was the first time I heard it, and I immediately fell in love. I don't know his name. That quote, you got to attribute it to that unknown Bermuda SDA conference drill instructor.
All right. Hopefully he watches this and he'll say, it was me.
I hope so.
That'll be awesome. But yeah, so the question I have, I'm going to go a little more specific on drilling and marching. What have you done to, some of these I already know, but what have you done to really shape up the drilling and marching in Greater New York Conference?
Well, one of the things I told my team when we started was that the main goal that we need to accomplish is not so much teaching people how to drill and march, but it's to change people's idea of drilling and marching. Because, Greater New York is considered the most culturally diverse conference in the entire division. So we have people come from all backgrounds, all cultures and whatnot. And there are some who are coming from those more strong-armed countries, governments, where they don't like drilling and marching at all, because it reminds them too much of the militaristic viewpoint that was in their home countries. Yeah. So we had to help them to understand that it's okay to teach your kids drilling and marching, because it's something that is fun. And then we also have to change the mindset of some people who use it as a weapon, where they would beat these kids down into submission, and the kids don't like it. So we have to teach them that no, it's not meant to be a weapon; it's meant to be a tool. Yes. Something that you can use to grow your club, to strengthen your young people, their camaraderie and their togetherness and their willingness to listen. So that was our main goal. And then in addition to that, we had the sessions that we had almost every year, where we were teaching people about drilling and marching, helping them to know how to do it properly. Because the other thing is, being culturally diverse, everybody from every country felt that their way was the right way. We had to remind them many times, this is America.
That's right.
The way we do it here, it's not like how you do it over there. I'm not saying not to do it the way you want to do it. If you want to do it for fancy, you could go ahead and do that for fancy. But here, this is how you need to do it. When we give the commands, this is how we need to do it. And the other thing that I had to do also, which is still ongoing, and Port Kenya has to deal with it, is teach coordinators how to drill and march. Mind you, they master guides.
That's right.
Drilling and marching honor on their sashes.
That's right.
You'll need to teach them how to properly give the commands.
That's right. Yes. Yes. I know that feeling, brother. It's teaching them not only the basics, because everybody knows the basics, but some are out of practice, but it's actually teaching them how to teach drilling and marching. So that so it can keep going down, because if they don't learn how to teach it, then at some point in one generation or something, one drill instructor leaves or something like that, all of a sudden the whole conference doesn't know how to drill anymore. So yeah, exactly. So let me ask you this: do you have a mentor that assist you and helped you become a better coordinator? Is there someone that you look to for advice in youth ministry?
There are a number of people I look to. I have to go back. I have to start at the beginning. My first mentor in youth ministries was my first Pathfinder director. Her name was Dr. Rima Kenton. She's a teacher. And she's one of the greatest people I've ever known. She led our Pathfinder club to #1 for 7 years in Northeastern. A feat that I don't think has ever been matched again. And she did a fantastic job, and she taught me a lot about what it meant to be a Christian and what it meant to be a leader. Then I also have to recognize her successor, Brother Bennett. He was also her predecessor, but he was also her successor as well, who taught me that youth ministries is supposed to be fun. It's not something that, it's not all about crossing all, your T's and dotting all your I's, but you have opportunity to be loose and enjoy it. I got to recognize my drill instructors, my first drill instructors, Antoinette Kenton, which was Director Kenton's niece, Stephen Bennett, who was my fancy drill instructor, and Robert Lewis, who came back from the Army, and he taught us a few things that he learned in the Army in terms of cadences. Nice. I got to recognize Sherman Baptiste, my predecessor as the Brooklyn Lead Area Coordinator, who helped me understand a few things in regard to leadership and managing a group of individuals. But the main person I always go back to is, he's not my immediate predecessor in drilling and marching, but he was the one before my predecessor, and that is Ray I. Hospitalis. His brother, Russell, sings with the King's Heralds. So if you see, he's the only black guy in the group. So if you see him, you'll see Ray. They look just alike. Ray was here for many years in Greater New York Conference, serving as a coordinator. He was a Manhattan Lead Coordinator, TLT Coordinator, and Drilling and Marching Coordinator. And unfortunately, he got sick and he had to move down south to be closer to his family. He's still alive and well, but keep it in your prayers. He probably won't see this because he's not on Facebook. But, he has taught me and continues to teach me a lot about youth ministries. For him, Pathfindering was a lifestyle. This was the brother who, and everybody in Greater New York knows him. There wouldn't be a week that would go by throughout the year that he was not in his uniform. It would either be Pathfinder Master Guide uniform or his Adventure Master Guide uniform. And he
Wow.
would visit every single church in Manhattan in a month.
Wow.
You know, it may not always be the same day, but in a month, he would always go to every single church in Manhattan. That was the area he was responsible for. Even though he had a team of coordinators underneath him, but he would go to every single one of them, and they all knew him. At one point, while he was the lead coordinator for Manhattan, all of Manhattan's clubs were in the top 10 clubs for our conference.
Wow.
So
that's dedication. Wow.
Yeah, the man was dedicated to the job. He's now working with Pastor Wade, who's the Associate Youth Ministries Director at South Central Conference. He's working with him down there in Germany.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
He's still working in it. I look forward to seeing him in August at Oshkosh.
Yes.
So he's still doing it. And he's the one who is there right now with me, who's constantly teaching me. And I also got to give a shout out to my protege. Even though she comes to me for advice, it's a two-way street with us, me and Kenya. You know, she comes to me for advice and I come to her for advice as well. And even in our conversations, we teach each other. And I think that's what's important. I think mentorship shouldn't just be a one-way thing. I think it should be a two-way thing.
Yes, definitely.
Because I mean, even I have to tell Ray some things sometimes. I got to knock him upside his head because he's a little hard-headed, but I love him. So it's a two-way street. I think that's the purest sense of what mentorship is meant to be. You know.
Wow, thank you so much for that answer, because that is so true. And one thing I can say is it's a joy to see it. I could see how Kenya. You guys are very close in age, but she still looks up to you. I can see it. And she also looks for like approval from you. Like when you told her at the competition that you were impressed by her home club, her face lit up. And when you give her criticisms or something like that to really keep her on her toes, like she pays attention to that. I can tell. So yeah.
I'm glad somebody does.
Hey, that's what I do. I notice because mentorship is a powerful tool and it's used to keep us in ministry. So and you just proved that with all the mentors that you've had that have kept you steady in this ministry. So thank you for that. Lastly, I want to ask you, do you have any words of encouragement for those young people, those TLTs who are looking towards you as an area coordinator, who are thinking about it and they're like, man, he looks stressed sometimes, but should I do this? Should I, dedicate my life? God is calling me to youth ministry, but should I do this? Do you have any words of encouragement for that?
Well, first, let me say the only time I'm really truly stressed is when I'm at camp. And that's only because of the duties I have at camp.
That's right.
I'm in charge of campsites, so I'm in charge of giving out the campsites. And I'm also one of the assistant heads of security. So that can be very stressful dealing with the brethren sometimes.
That's right.
Not the Pathfinders, not even the directors, the brethren, the pastoral brethren even. But that's another conversation for another time.
That's right.
But no, I've actually had a few young people who've come up to me and said they've done Master Guide or they're going to do Master Guide because they want to be coordinators. And I feel it's my duty to encourage them. Regardless, I mean, most of them, these are young people that I've known. Some of them have been my own former Pathfinders. And, I'm not going to lie to you, Eric. I don't always believe all of them when they say that to me because I know them. But I also know how God can take charcoal and make it into diamonds.
Yeah.
So I see them and I encourage them. I say, you know what you need to do. Keep doing what you got to do, and one day somebody's going to notice. So I want to say that to those TLTs, those young people who are doing Master Guide right now, or wherever they are right now. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing that right thing. Keep pushing and striving for excellence. Somebody's going to notice. It may not be as soon as you want it to happen. Somebody's going to notice. And trust and believe me, the younger coordinators like myself, no offense to my senior colleagues, I'm not trying to be in this thing for the rest of my life. I'm not trying to be a coordinator until Jesus comes. That is not my plan. My plan has and will always be that at some point before I turn 50, to pass this baton on to somebody else. And I prefer that somebody to be within the age group of the youth ministries department. Somebody who's between the ages of 16 and 35. And so there are people like myself, there are coordinators like myself who are looking for people like that. And as long as you keep doing what needs to be done, you're not doing it because you're just seeking the position, but you're doing it for the love of young people, for the love of youth ministries, for the love of God. As long as you're doing it that way, somebody will take notice. And they'll say the right things to the right people. And then next thing you know, you're getting that phone call from your youth director or your associate youth director offering you to serve as a coordinator.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. So I want to thank you, Brother Damion, for coming on. You're the first interview. I'm going to be talking to other area coordinators, but you're the first person to talk about, youth ministry, Pathfinder ministry here on this page that I started. So thank you for that so much. So we just want to tell everybody here to keep on the lookout for the next interview. And remember, here at Youth Ministry and Mentorship 101, youth ministry is not a stepping stone into ministry. Youth ministry is ministry, period.
Yes. Amen.
All right.